back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you 6 different looks with these 2 palettes from Cosmic Brushes. I do have a little bit of indentation on my nose because I've been wearing my glasses for the last few hours, so bear with me. I did try to pat it down, but anyway, I bought these last month. I have the Muse palette and also the Delicious Delights. I had the idea, you know, I want to play around with these palettes. Let's do some looks. So I've done 3 looks with each. So 6 looks in total. If you would like to see what looks I put together, then obviously keep watching the video. But this is what the Muse palette looks like. Obviously I wanted to do 3 looks because I wanted to go into as many shades as possible just to give my first impressions. This is by no means my last impressions of these palettes because I'm sure I'm going to be using them quite a bit more. But I actually do have some differing first impressions than what I expected to have for these 2, and this is what this one looks like. So yeah, I definitely wanted this one. Just to give you a little bit of context, I have been pining over this palette for a few years now, since it launched. So I think it's like a year and a half, you know, since it launched. And when I bought this one, I decided to get this one. And I also decided to get this one because it came with the bundle with the Delicious Delights. And this is just a highlighting palette. So in a few of the looks, I actually did test this out as well. So let me roll that and you can see all 3 of my looks. And then let's come back here and because I do have some thoughts on these palettes. I do. And they're different to what I expected. All right, so I did that look this morning. So this is like after a few hours of wearing the eyeshadow, and as I mentioned, I've been wearing my glasses, so I do have a little indentation. I have some thoughts on these palettes. I do like them. But there's definitely one that I prefer over the other, and it's not the one I was expecting to like. So let's go into this one first. This is the last 3 looks that you would have seen. I find this kind of dark. I don't know. And I also struggled a little bit with the pigmentation of the matte shades. Now, I didn't set my lids or anything when I was testing them out. I think that's just a good tester indicator, just how they would perform on my like natural skin. And I do feel that this performed less than this. Like, I feel like the mattes didn't do as well in this palette on my skin. I don't know what happened, but I did find that the greens were a little bit kind of iffy, and I didn't really like any of the looks that I created. I mean, maybe this one, I really thought that I would love this palette, but I just find it a little bit lackluster. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just found it to not have the oomph that I expected it to have. And I did feel like, I don't know, I mean, I think this green shade was really beautiful. Like the 2 green shimmers I think were really stunning. I just had an issue with the green mattes. I just don't think they blended very well. I don't think they looked a little patchy, and I don't like to just sit there and blend for hours, so maybe that's just on me. The first look I did, I went into these and I thought it was fine. It was a little bit more of a dark look than what I am going for, because I'm, we're getting into spring and I don't really want to do dark looks. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit thrown off by this palette, because it is more of a winter palette and it's just the wrong time of year. But I was hoping it might be a good spring palette, and I just don't think it is. I just think the tones are a little bit too dark and too muted. I did find it quite muted. I do like this shade, which I do have on the lids today. This is called Muse, so it's the name of the palette. And I think it is the nicest shade so far that I've tried. I think Antique was also quite pretty, which I did in the first look. But I have to say, I'm a little bit like meh about this palette. It just didn't exceed my expectations. It didn't really even meet my expectations of what I thought the palette would do, and maybe I'll feel differently come winter time. I just might not be in the right headspace for it, because this one I thought was so lovely. And I tell you what, I had a lot of fun with this one. I had no idea what to do with my second look. I did that orangey look with a little bit of the green, because this is a green. It's a green, but it's also a pink. And I think this palette is just a lot more fun, and maybe it's because it's spring and I want these fun spring colors. I just enjoyed it a lot more. I found a lot more inspiration when going into this. I thought the 3 looks that I did were different from each other, whereas I kind of struggled with the other one. Even though you have the browns and you have the pinks and you have the greens, I didn't feel like there was variety within them to make them different from each other. Like every time I make a green look with the Muse palette, I think it's always going to be those tones, because there's really nothing else that you can do. And this one I feel like it's just so different. It's just different. But there are some negatives about this. I will say there's a few dud shades. I feel like they're dud shades. So the first look that I did, I thought was really beautiful, and I got a lot of comments about it because I did wear it when I did my, I think it was my, what was it? My Pan That Palette video, I think it was my Pan That Palette. And I went into frosting and some of the purples, and it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. I incorporated the blue and it blended beautifully. Like the mattes in here, I thought perform a lot better and they're easier to blend. So I had a really fun time doing that look. The second look was just random. I had no idea what to do, but I went into the greens, and it was kind of like an orangey with a green, because I noticed that obviously this shade is a complete duochrome. It is green and then it's pink, and I thought that was a lot of fun, and I just wanted to have fun. It was the weekend, so I just put that on the lids, and then we went sofa shopping, so it was absolutely a fun time to wear that. And it was not like it was a little bit messy, that look, but I actually really enjoyed it. And then the pink look, even though I messed it up with my mascara like got all over my lid, I thought that this pink is so vibrant and had really packed it like a punch. I really love that pink. It's like the color of my lips. It was a lot of fun to wear that. And I had way more enjoyment from this palette than I did the Muse, which really surprises me. And if I had to rank them, I would definitely rank this one higher. And I would also suggest people to go for this one more so than the Muse one. However, I will say, because I did mention there's like a couple dud shades in here, at least dud for me because they didn't perform the way I wanted them to, which is, the first one is Fizzy, which is this sort of mint green shimmer. It is very lackluster. I couldn't really get much sparkle from it. So, and it's a little bit drier than some of the other ones. So it just didn't really perform the way that I wanted it to. It didn't have that metallic feeling to it. And then the other one, I kind of feel the same way about Candy Floss. Even though it looks very pretty, it didn't pack that punch that the other shimmers pack. But aside from that, I didn't have any issues with the matte shades like I did with the Muse palette. So yeah, definitely pleasantly surprised with this palette. It wasn't a palette that was even on my radar, and I bought it on a whim when I bought the Muse. And there you go. You just never know, but I definitely love this palette more than the Muse. I think come winter time, I will give this another shot. Obviously, it's not like a horrible palette at all. And some of these shades are absolutely stunning. Like, look at it in the mirror here. It looks so beautiful, but I think in reality, while I'm wearing it, I just felt like it was too dark, and it might just be a season thing for me. So I'll bear that in mind, and I'll pull it for autumn winter. It's just a shame because I thought, you know, I like wearing greens, and I just felt like the greens were just, maybe I should have gone into this murky green, but then this one is very dark, and what would I do? Because I kind of wish that this didn't have a pink purple sort of flip to it, because if this was white with a flip of yellow or lime green, I think it would have worked a lot better with all of these other tones, because there isn't a bright tone in here that I can use other than this bright green or this pink. And I would much rather have preferred this one to be different, just to have something different in the inner corner. I don't know, I'm just trying to think like out loud what is kind of throwing me off with this palette, and I don't really know exactly what it is. I just found the whole thing a little too muted and a little too dark tone. So yeah, I wish maybe there was one other lighter shade in here that I could match with a lot of the other different colors. That's kind of probably it. Anyway, and then last but not least is the highlighter palette. I did go into this a few times in the first few looks that I did, and I am not overly blown away by this. I think it's okay. I think the shades are very pretty. I mean, even like looking at now, you can clearly see this is more yellow, this is more pink, and this is more like icy toned. They are okay. They're not blinding at all. So I think are actually definitely wearable highlighters, and I will definitely get more use out of them, but they're not like out of this world amazing. And I definitely have better highlighters in my collection that are this holographic sort of highlighter. So potentially I didn't really need this palette, but it was nice to test it out. And I'm not mad about it at all. It just didn't have the impact that I maybe was like expecting it to. But yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag there. I'm gonna be honest when I do these things, and I try to be as honest as possible with the makeup that I wear. And I obviously am an everyday wearer. I don't try to do these beautiful, crazy makeup looks. So, you know, as an everyday palette, I think the Delicious Delights is just stunning, and especially for spring. We'll give it the Muse another go, but first impressions, I'm not overly excited about it. I've done 3 looks now, and all 3 looks I didn't really care for. This is probably my favorite, as I mentioned, but also I feel like I have other palettes in my collection that I could probably do this without that palette. So anyway, regardless. So if you are thinking of grabbing either one of those two, maybe if you don't mind like a darker tone palette, the Muse is great for you. But for me, this time of year, I just don't think it works. And yeah, lesson learned. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.